Hey guys, I'm Tammara, and today I'm going to be speaking about euthanasia. So before I start, I would like all of you guys to imagine yourself in unbearable pain without the ability to walk, see, or barely have the ability to speak. And you cannot live without assistance 24/7, and you are only given 6 months to live. So my question to you is, would you like to live those 6 months in unbearable pain, or relieve yourself from suffering and pass on peacefully? So my main claim for today is that euthanasia benefits terminally ill patients. Before I get started as well, I'm going to include some definitions. Euthanasia is defined as the act of deliberately ending a person's life to relieve suffering. Physician-assisted suicide involves a doctor knowingly and intentionally providing a person with the knowledge or means or both required to commit suicide, including counseling about lethal doses of drugs, prescribing such lethal doses, or supplying the drugs. I'm going to also speak about autonomy, and autonomy is the state of existing or acting separately from others. And currently in the United States government, autonomy refers to oneself's governance. And I'm also going to speak about palliative care, which is a multidisciplinary approach to specialized medical care for people with serious illnesses. It focuses on providing patients with relief from the symptoms, pain, physical stress, and mental stress of serious illness. So euthanasia currently right now is legal in 6 of 50 states within minimum limitations. Those states include Oregon, Washington, California, Vermont, New Mexico, and Montana. In all 6 states, you need to be 18. You need to be proven that you only have 6 months to live. You need 2 oral consultations from a doctor and 1 written one. And efforts to legalize the practice has failed since 1992. So my first supporting claim today will be that patients would benefit from choosing their method of death to embrace a timely and dignified death and avoid suffering of terminal illnesses. So a senior advisor, Faye Gersh, states Americans should enjoy a right guaranteed in the European Declaration of Human Rights, the right not to be forced to suffer. It should be considered as much of a crime to make someone live who with justification does not wish to continue as it is to take life without consent. My second supporting claim for today will be that patients have the right to autonomy. And a quick reminder, autonomy is the state of existing or acting separately from others. So Richard Gula from Santa Clarita University states, in our culture we interpret autonomy as the right to self-determination. The prevailing interpretation of autonomy in our culture is that autonomy is there to maximize self-interest. That means that we are able to pursue our own goals and life plans without external constraints. When we interpret autonomy this way, we answer the question, whose life is it anyway, in favor of the one whose life is in question. My third supporting claim today will be terminally ill patients hold the power of choice. Kayla Asbury from the Daily Athenaeum, which is a journal, states the ability to be in control of your own body and mind is an essential human right terminally ill people are often not granted. For example, Alzheimer's patients whose minds would be deteriorating would be able to end their lives while they still have memory of their family and friends. So if you guys have ever experienced watching one of your own family and friends experience a terminally illness and see them suffer, it's something that you really want to take into consideration, whether the state and the government is holding them back from leaving this world to peacefully and not being held back to suffer. My fourth claim today will be palliative care is poorly funded or unavailable to patients. So to remind you guys, the palliative care is a multidisciplinary approach to specialized medical care for people with serious illnesses. So the Journal of Pain and Symptom Management states with only a few exceptions, palliative care is not incorporated within healthcare systems such as Medicare or Obamacare. As a result, there is no allocation of public funds or institutional resources and no reimbursement for services rendered through health insurance programs. So the last 2 months of a person's life before they pass on normally can cost up to $50,000 just for those last 2 months for the care, and those 2 months are not helped out. The families are not helped with by insurance programs. So the families of those who end up passing end up having to deal with those medical bills from those who suffered. And also, an Oregon survey states the inadequate funding for palliative care and pain management and government's intransigent reliance on nursing homes all contribute to the despair felt by many who reach old age and share frustrating physical limitations or are afflicted with debilitating conditions. So to tie it all together, my conclusion today is that euthanasia would benefit terminally ill patients by granting them power over their death financially and with moral dignity. Thank you.
All right, the proposition's clearly identified. It sounds like it's phrased as a claim of fact, but the issues that you develop make it sound much more like it's a claim of value. A lot of the secondary issues deal with rights, questions of morality, which all fall clearly into the category of value issues. So that's a little bit problematic. There's some presuppositions built into the argument about pain and suffering that are not demonstrated. You've got a hypothetical that you use at the beginning, but there's not really much explanation about why or how many patients or if anybody is in these particular situations. There's not an explanation about why people have to suffer, except that your argument seems to be that people can't kill themselves. And I'm wondering, well, why can't they kill themselves? Here's a bus, here's a building, here's a train, step in front of it and take care of it. But your argument is really about physician-assisted suicide or getting some medical assistance to do that. And I think that you don't describe why it's necessary to have physicians as a part of that process. Where are you? I can hear someone. Yeah, and that's where the controversy is, because and the world's full of people who snuff themselves if they don't like what's going on, And so when you're talking about the European standard of human rights, hey, nobody gets prosecuted for killing themselves. So I guess under the European standard of human rights, we're all good on this. I think the real argument is that there's a need to be able to get medical assistance in doing that, and that's where your argument needs to focus. And you don't really kind of get to that issue. The factual data on the states I thought was pretty good, although at one point you said the moves to do this are failing. I'm going, well, wait a second. You just mentioned 6 places, including the largest state in the country that has more than 10% of the population of the country that now has this. I'm going, well, why do you say it's failing? It sounds like this is the trend. This is the direction that we're headed. So why do we have to have this argument? I'm not quite clear on that. I think you need to show that it has failed in particular places. There continues to be resistance to it. You've got the right idea here, but there's not enough follow-up on it. I think the example of the Alzheimer's patient would probably run contrary to the state's guidelines that you're talking about. So if you're arguing for something, for example, California or Oregon's rules are unfair. We've got to be careful about unfair because that's a value argument. But they fail to provide adequate protection for Alzheimer's patients because you have to be of sound mind, you have to request it, and Alzheimer's patients aren't in that situation, then who's making this decision for them? That becomes a question also. So I think that that's probably the wrong example for you to use. I like the information that you had about problems with palliative care, that it's not covered by insurance, that it leaves people in particular situations, that it's not widely accessible. Those should be the arguments that you're developing a little bit more. Kind of rushing a little bit in the presentation, but I understand that. We want to get done tonight. Thank you.